Today, we'll be talking about the influenza vaccine.
Most vaccines, like the HPV vaccine, we get initial doses during childhood and a few boosters throughout our lives. This is different for the influenza vaccine, commonly known as the flu shot, which we get each year. The influenza vaccine protects against the influenza virus.
But what is the influenza virus and how does it affect humans?
There are 4 strains of influenza, A, B, C, and D. Only strains A and B are known to cause epidemics of disease in people, with influenza A being the only known strain to cause pandemics within the human population. Both influenza A and B can cause fever, coughing, throat soreness, fatigue, and other uncomfortable symptoms.
However, influenza vaccines have been developed and altered since the 1940s to make flu symptoms more manageable. The vaccine works by stimulating the production of antibodies within the human body. These antibodies then attach to surface proteins on the virus, effectively disabling it.
The process sounds relatively simple, but it isn't. The influenza virus is capable of mutating into different variants, meaning the outer protein structures on the virus are constantly changing. These changes require different antibodies to be defeated. As a result, vaccines must be updated each year to target those new structures so they are most effective in fighting the particular variants of that flu season. To make these updates, surveillance centers observe the variants that were most dominant in last flu season. From this data, they predict the variants that will be the most dominant in the upcoming season and then select the top 3 antibodies that will be the most effective. However, sometimes surveillance centers make incorrect predictions. When this occurs, people who have received the flu vaccine for the season may still get the virus and experience symptoms.
But what causes variants in influenza strains? Influenza strains develop variants by a process called antigenic drift. Antigenic drift occurs when genetic mutations in a virus cause changes in its surface proteins. With the flu, the influenza virus has the surface proteins neuraminidase and hemagglutinin. These proteins are antigens, meaning they are recognized by the immune system and are capable of triggering an immune response. This response is the production of antibodies that fight infection.
But why does this explain why we need new influenza vaccine each year? Small changes in the structure of HA and NA that accumulate over time may result in viruses that are antigenically different.
If the change is significant enough, the person's antibodies will bind differently or not at all to the virus, resulting in a loss or reduction in protection against the variant. In simpler terms, antigenic drift makes it harder for a person's immune system to recognize and fight the virus.
Because it takes around 1 year for the influenza virus to significantly mutate, people receive influenza vaccines each year to ensure that their immune system has the appropriate antibodies to effectively fight the variants of the upcoming flu season.
Now you know everything about the influenza vaccine, it's important to update your flu shot every year at the doctors to protect yourself and others.